In the video this time, I will explain about vernacular English, standard English, and lingua franca. In order to assess the relative claims of different languages, it is necessary to look at their status and the functions which they serve. Sociolinguists have developed a number of ways of categorizing language according to their status and social functions. The distinction between a vernacular language and a standard language is a useful place to start. Okay, first I will explain about vernacular language. A vernacular or vernacular language is the native language or native dialect, or usually colloquial or informal, of a specific population, especially as distinguished from a literary, national or standard variety of the language, or a lingua franca, or also called a vehicular language, used in the region or state inhabited by that population. Some linguists use vernacular and non-standard dialects as synonyms. Furthermore, this language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular country or region. Vernacular describes everyday language, including slang, that's used by the people. The vernacular is different from literary or official language. It's why people really talk with each other like how families talk at home. Next, the characteristic of vernacular language. First, the standard native language of a country or locality. Second, the everyday language spoken by a people as distinguished from the literary language. Third, a variety of such everyday language specific to a social group or region. Fourth, the idioms of a particular trade or profession in the legal vernacular. Fifth, an idiomatic word, phrase, or expression. Sixth, the common, non-scientific name of a plant or animal. 7. Native to or commonly spoken by the members of a particular country or religion. 8. Using the native language of a region, especially as distinct from the literary language. 9. Relating to or expressed in the native language or dialect. 10. Of or being an indigenous building styles, using local material and traditional method of construction on an ornament, especially as distinguished from academic or historical architectural styles. And the last, occurring or existing in a particular locality or endemic. Next, standard language. Language may also be varied according to whether it is perceived to be correct or not. In regard to this view, terms standard and non-standard variety of a language are applied. A standard language is developed as a result of a social-political process. It is not entirely the same as the formal variety of a language. A standard variety of a language includes both formal and informal or colloquial variety. However, the language used in the formal associations is often characterized with the use of standard forms. Thus, in regard to the association where the variety is used, the standard language variety might be associated with the formal variety. A standard language is generally one which is written and which has undergone some degree of regularization or codification. For example, in a grammar and a dictionary. Furthermore, it is a language variety used by a group of people in their public discourse. Alternatively, varieties become standard by undergoing a process of standardization, during which It is organized from description in grammars and dictionaries and encoded in such reference works. Furthermore, standard language arises when a certain dialect begins to be used in written form, normally throughout a broader area than that of the dialect itself. In English, a definition of the standard variety has been stated one as this equated. Standard English is that variety of English which is usually used in print and which is normally taught in schools and to non-native speakers learning the language. It is also the variety which is normally spoken by educated people and used in news broadcasts and other similar situations. From the quotation above, two criterion to identify Standard English are suggested. First, Standard English is printed or written variety. Second, it is taught to non-native speakers in school. Next, the characteristic of standard language. First, a recognized dictionary or standardized spelling and vocabulary. Second, a recognized grammar. And last, a standard pronunciation or educated speech. Next, I will explain about lingua franca. A lingua franca is a language which is used a means of communication among people who have no native language in common. A lingua franca, also known as a bridge language, common language, trade language, or vernacular language, is a language or dialect systematically used to make communication possible between people who don't share a native language or dialect, particularly when it is a third language that is distinct from both native languages. Lingua francas have developed around the world throughout human history, sometimes for commercial reasons, but also for cultural, religious, diplomatic, and administrative convenience, and as a means of exchanging information between scientists and other scholars of different nationalities. The characteristic of lingua franca. First, lingua franca is neither defined by its linguistic history nor its linguistic structure, but by its functionality. Second, a lingua franca is not confined within the geographical, cultural, or linguistic boundaries of the communities who identify as native speakers of the language, unlike a vernacular language which is limited within the linguistic boundaries of the community using it as a native language. And last, all lingua franca are used as a linguistic bridge linking different cultures, civilizations, and religions which otherwise would never have been linked. So, vernacular describes everyday language, including slang, that's used by the people. The vernacular is different from literary or official language. It's why people really talk with each other, like how families talk at home. Meanwhile, standard language, the variety of a language that is considered as a better one for its phonological, lexical, and grammatical correctness. And a lingua franca is a language which is used as a means of communication among people who have no native language in common, also known as a bridge language, common language, trade language, or vehicular language. Is a language or dialect systematically used to make communication possible between people who don't share a native language or dialect, particularly when it is a third language that is distinct from both native languages.